You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Monday. I'm Dalby. This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast, which is generally made up of two equal parts, Brock and Dalby. But as we explore here at the beginning of today's show, it's going to be a little bit different for the remainder of this week.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You might notice that I'm saying all the stuff that Brock usually says in the morning, but that's only because we kicked him out of Canada. Sent him packing right out of the country. See, today is actually a very special day, both in Brock's life and in the Brock and Dalby show, because today is Brock's birthday. Let's get another round of applause for that. It's another round of applause for the kid's birthday. 30 years old today. Might have to stop calling him the kid. Anyway, his lovely girlfriend, Courtney, went all out for his big 30th birthday this year and booked the kid a surprise trip. I just did it again. Booked Brock a surprise trip to Mexico back in like July of 2024. And lucky for me, I have a really bad memory, as you guys probably know from listening to this show. So I didn't have to work all that hard at keeping it a secret because I legitimately forgot by like August. But yeah, that's why Brock's not here today and will not be here for the week. So it is the Ann Dalby show all this week here on what is supposed to be the Brock and Dalby show. And if you are a Brock person and you don't care for my half of the program, I'm really sorry, but I'm all you've got this week because Brock is on a beach somewhere taking full advantage of the all-inclusive food and drinks at the resort. Gotta love an all-inclusive food and drink as far as the eye can see. All manners of different meals and snacks and cold beverages, though there's probably other all-you-can-enjoy items that would be cool to have. Like I've always thought the big selling feature of an all-inclusive is always been come and stuff your face with as much food as you can handle and just get super hammered with all of the drinks. But like, wouldn't it be kind of cool? Maybe this makes me sound like a nerd, but wouldn't it be cool if all-inclusives also had like a massive library on site? Like books and magazines, audio books and stuff like that. All of that stuff. I mean, I cannot stay perma-drunk the entire time. Not at my age. It would ruin my life. So wouldn't it be nice when you're taking advantage of like the beaches or sitting at poolside and stuff like that to have this massive library of books that you could read while you're on vacation so that you don't have to try and pack some or, God forbid, buy them at the airport gift shop. You just have a massive library of books you could read on the beach. And you could make jobs out of this because you could have like a book sommelier, like with wine, except they make book recommendations for you. Like, ooh, we do have a fine collection of classic works, the finest leather-bound copies of the Tolkien books. Or for you, sir, on your 8th Long Island iced tea of the morning, may I suggest this fine pop-up book with all the pretty pictures.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
If you could have all that you could handle of a thing at an all-inclusive resort that isn't just food and booze, Jordan, what would you like to have?
For all of our stoner friends, all you can smoke. And then for gamers like me, all you can game, like a big list of games, even if it's just retro console games.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I don't have a lot of all-inclusive experience myself, but I've never even seen an all-inclusive with an arcade.
Yeah, that would be perfect if that was possible.
Honestly, the idea of walking into an all-you-can, like, grabbing your food, grabbing your drinks, heading to an all-you-can-play arcade, and just even for people who don't love video games the way you and I love video games, like, who wouldn't love some drunken pinball in Mexico somewhere?
Or skee ball, or even air hockey.
I want an all-you-can Dave & Buster's at my next resort.
Yes.
I don't think that I'm being unreasonable about that. Jordan, thank you for the call. Appreciate you chiming in. I mean, obviously, there are some easy things you could point at and be like, oh, I would love to have an unlimited supply of money. The resort's probably not going to hand that over to you. There's all you can eat, all you can drink. What about getting there? We got this text here from Jeff that says, I just want all you can travel. I want unlimited plane tickets. I can't get to the all-inclusive because it costs too much to fly in this country. And you're not wrong. The idea, and we've seen it in some like European areas where you buy a pass and you can once a day fly anywhere that airline flies. The idea of unlimited plane tickets would be fantastic. Even something on a smaller scale, and this obviously wouldn't be at like a resort, but just in your everyday life, the all-you-can-watch movie pass. We saw that as a thing in the States, and it lost a huge amount of money. It bankrupted a company. It was a brutal idea. But the idea itself was cool. It was a card that you could pay a subscription for, and then you could go to as many theater movies as you wanted to, or for as long as your subscription was up and running. And again, it cost the company that made it so much money, but the people who had it were living fantastic lives. And that, obviously, is more important than capitalism.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We mostly talk about hockey when it comes to sports on the show, but my true love, if you don't know, is football. The NFL, more specifically, despite the 4 or 5 Riders jerseys that I have in my closet. So if I sound a little bit depressed today, it's because my Pittsburgh Steelers were unceremoniously evicted from the playoffs on Saturday night, and by our main rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, no less. And I would just like to take this opportunity. I have this platform. I feel like I got to take the opportunity to say that I hope that every player on the Ravens roster stubs at least 3 out of their 10 toes per day for the rest of their lives, unless for some reason they end up traded to Pittsburgh down the road, at which point the curse can be lifted on that individual player. But for the rest of you, I hope that life is just at least somewhat mildly uncomfortable. God, I hate those purple bastards. Though that's what makes sports so fun, right? Like, it's great to watch your favorite team win. I watched the Steelers win 10 games this year when I expected them to win far fewer. And that was great. But when you have a rival, when you have a mortal enemy, you also get the added benefit of taking pleasure in their suffering. Like in hockey, in the NHL, I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan. When bad things happen to the Avalanche in Colorado, that's just as good as a win in Hockey Town, baby. Having a mortal enemy just makes life more interesting. And it's not just a sports thing either, because people will try and tell you that, like, oh, rivalries are just this silly thing that sports fans get wrapped up in. But it's not just sports, because you couldn't look me in the eye and tell me you don't have someone at your work that you hate at least just a little bit. Like, just a little bit. Like, I'm not saying, like, you want their house to burn down, but if they got a sunburn in January, you'd think that was really funny. Like, when they have a tough day at work, you smile just a little bit. When you're telling a funny story to the rest of the crew around the water cooler in the lunchroom, and they walk by, you pause just for a second to give them a little bit of the stink eye, just so they know, I don't like you. Unless you work in a family business, maybe. But honestly, now that I say that out loud, you probably still have a brother or a sister, an uncle or a cousin that you curse under your breath at least a little bit in times of stress.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Talking about rivals, mortal enemies, the people that exist in the world, seemingly only to make your life more difficult or more frustrating. Got this text here from Mitch. Says anyone operating a business has the same enemy, and that's everyone that works at Canada Revenue. And I feel bad because there's so many people that are employed under the umbrella of Canada Revenue. They're not all bad people. But I imagine when you're starting to do your payroll, if you own a business and you have to put aside that big chunk of money, yeah, I could see how that would easily be someone that would become your mortal enemy, someone that you would just, I cuss their name when their thought crosses my mind. Sarah texted in, and this one I feel like relates to a lot of people. Says that her mortal enemy is a coworker who also uses the office they work in to do fundraising for her kids. Sarah says, I've been here longer, and my coworkers would all donate or buy fundraising stuff when I was trying to raise money for my kids to go through dance classes. Now this other woman works here, and her kid plays hockey, so whenever they're doing a fundraiser, she starts asking around the office, and now it's harder to get money money out of all the people that we work with. I will say this, Sarah. That person might be your mortal enemy, and there's even a chance that she considers you her mortal enemy as you fight for the wallets and bank balances of all of your coworkers. But just to be clear, the both of you are everybody else's mortal enemy, as they just want to come to work and make their money and go home and live their lives. And they're walking on the landmine field of, will today be the day that Sarah or other girl ask me for my hard-earned dollars so their kid can buy yet another outfit for dance class?
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Old Mark Zuckerberg was on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, the Joe Rogan Experience, and was asked about last week's big story about how Facebook was no longer going to fact-check content anymore and instead would just allow users to put up community notes if they felt like what was being presented to them was in fact false. He said this on the show.
People started pushing for like ideological-based censorship. And I think it was two main events that really triggered this. In 2016, there was the election of President Trump. And then, in 2020, there was COVID. And I think that those were basically these two events where, for the first time, we just faced this massive institutional pressure to basically start censoring content on ideological grounds.
Basically saying that he felt pressured to ban things from Facebook because they didn't jive with certain people's viewpoints. Basically, Facebook never wanted to get into the fact-checking business, but there were so many people crying fake news around 2016 and 2020 on both sides that they felt like they had to keep users happy, and now he's worried that it's too much like censorship. And fair enough, it's his company. I don't own any shares in Meta or Facebook or Instagram. He's free to do whatever he wants, as well as the board of directors or whatever says that he can go ahead and do it. And let's be honest with ourselves. If you're going to Facebook for your news in the first place, fact-checking era or no, you're basically asking to be told something that you already believe and not have your worldview challenged. We all live in our online bubbles where we cultivate friendships and groups and tasks and all these things that tell us what we already think. But I would like to just say one thing. Asking people to tell the truth is not censorship. Telling people that if they say something demonstrably and dangerously false, that they will no longer be allowed to say that thing on your website or your platform is not the same as burning books and putting people in jail for speaking their opinions. In this country, where we live here in Canada, we're all free to our beliefs for the most part, with very few exceptions that I'm understanding. But that shouldn't mean that it's just okay to straight up lie to people, especially about certain things, especially from influencers, celebrities, politicians from every party in this country, and other people with large audiences and loud platforms like us here on this station. We should not be able to come on here and lie to you about major things happening in the world because we have a dangerously large reach. There are a lot of people who would hear those lies and could act accordingly based upon them. And we used to be a society where you could generally trust the words coming from another person's mouth or fingers, depending on the era that you grew up in. But now we have to be careful. We have to be diligent. And more than ever, we have to do our own research. Don't just go to Facebook and trust everything you see. Don't go to Instagram or Twitter or X or TikTok or any of those places. Don't just go to Wikipedia. Find multiple sources. Do your own research so that you can learn things instead of just trusting whatever meme you saw on the subject or the late night talk show or the Joe Rogan podcast. And we'll all be better off for it.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Brock is away for his 30th birthday. He got surprised with a week-long trip to Mexico. So while we're here dealing with this, gestures towards open window, he is on a beach somewhere at a beautiful all-inclusive resort. I love an all-inclusive resort. I hate the cost of the travel, though. I hate the trip Like, I love Mexico. I wish it was closer. I like the idea of having a Canadian all-inclusive. Like, wouldn't it be great if there was an all-inclusive resort in, like, I don't know, Wasaga? Or maybe Niagara, right? Down by the falls, already super touristy. You could put a resort in there, make it all-inclusive. Why can't I stay in my own country, but also drink and eat my face off for the entirety of the time that I'm there without having to pay for each and every one? And you could make it super Canadian, too. Tapped maple trees all over the grounds for easy access syrup as you're walking along. Never more than 100 meters from a Timmy stand. You could have actual beer on tap that is, not water. Oh, man, and the buffet, like talking about all you can eat, all you can drink. The buffets, all you can eat poutine, tortillas, bannock, just mountains of butter tarts and Nanaimo bars as far as the eye could see. Then you work off all the sugar and the carbs with a skate at the all-season shinny rink. Just drop in, drop out puck. They have the employees there skating around, taking shifts, so that no matter what time you go, there's always a pickup game you can jump in on. Maybe a little curling sheet, too. The only problem with the Canadian all-inclusive is that most of the activities that would be there would revolve around ice and snow. Like, it's probably not the best idea to go hit up the resort ODR after a dozen or so free daiquiris while you were hanging out in the common areas. Though, having a bunch of drinks and then going to the on-site ice fishing shack would make it feel more true to life.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The CES Expo has been going on over the past week or so, the Consumer Electronics Show, and it's been really cool. There's all kinds of new, like, smart home technology, and Roombas are getting more advanced. They can go upstairs now and pick up your dirty socks. But also, there is a company that is making waves right now called Realbotics. I must tell you, they sell AI girlfriends. Basically a robot that you can get for as cheap as $12,000, though that model is just a bust. So basically, from the shoulders up, that's you can get that for $12,000. Keep it on the table, on the nightstand, maybe somewhere where other people will never see it, but that's up to you. Or you can go all the way to the top of the line model, a $175,000 AI robot that is akin to, according to Forbes magazine, a mannequin riding a Roomba vacuum cleaner that will fall in love with you and provide you with company. And I mean, the idea is not specifically that this will be your girlfriend and will provide you with some sort of meaningful romantic relationship. The company is not promising that. But that's what people are going to use it for, and there's concerns there, I feel. That's something I think we should be worried about. Also, and I hate to bring this up, but for $175,000, neither the company nor the Forbes article about the robot seem to mention if it's anatomically correct. I don't think that's something we should be hoping for, but I feel like at $175,000, the kind of person who would buy this is going to have some expectations. That's all I'm saying. The future is weird, man.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Playing a little Tool time this morning. Your chance to win $100 in Lotto Max tickets. Got a $50 million jackpot draw. 2 Max Millions up for grabs. All happening tomorrow night. Got to have some money. Got to have some tickets if you would like to win the game. So, today on Tool Time, we're asking you to give us your best drill. If you can do better than your other 3 contestants, then you will be declared the ultimate driller, the drill sergeant, so to speak, on the program here today. Again, this is what we're looking for. Line number 1. Brock and Dalby Show, who's this? Kevin, you know how the game works, right? This is not a difficult one.
No.
All right, so this is what we're looking for. Have some fun with it. Let us know what your drill sounds like. 3, 2, 1.
Snap. Oh, shit.
Okay, well, you just swore on the air, Kevin, so now you're out of the game. Brock and Dalby Show, who's this?
Hey, it's Chris.
Hi, Chris. We're looking for your best drill sound on Tool Time today. Here's what we got for our example. Think you can bring that better than Kevin did?
See what I can do.
Here we go.
Just got to find my old trusty Robertson bit first, though.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Go, ready?
Yeah. There you go. All right, Chris. Very well done. Very well done. Leader in the clubhouse for sure, but we do still have one more contestant, and that's on line number 3, Brock and Dalby Show. Who's this?
Hi, it's Sue.
Hi, Sue. You ready to play some Tool Time with us today?
I'm ready.
All right, Sue. You've only got one person to beat. That's Chris. He did a really good job with his drill sound. I'll give you the example. Think you got it in you?
I got it.
All right, let's hear it, Sue.
Wee!
All right, Sue. I'll put you on hold. I think that's the sound that the pigs made when they were running from house 1 to house 2 to house 3 if the big bad wolf blew their houses down. Sue, great job. Thank you for calling in. Kevin, do better next time if there is a next time. But, Chris, congratulations, brother.
Right on, my man. That's awesome.
You just won yourself $100 in Lotto Max tickets. If you happen to turn that 100 into $50 million or even a couple million in the big draw tomorrow, you got any nickels and dimes for the boys?
I'm sure we could send you off to Mexico, too, man.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, then there's no show for anybody. That's right. You don't even have to share with Brock. He's not here. Me and you, Chris, we're going to the bank.
Sounds awesome, man.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
WWE is coming to Toronto this year. As a lifelong wrestling fan, been pondering trying to get my hands on some tickets. There's a SmackDown on the Friday, and then it's the Elimination Chamber. And it's the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is happening at Skydome, and I've never seen a wrestling show at the Skydome before. I think that would just be super cool. But holy hell, is it expensive. The average price around $700. I think you can get tickets for like the high hundreds, low 200s, but you're sitting way up in the nosebleeds up in the Skydome. The average price about $700. That is probably high though because the ringside tickets are like $5,000, and those come with like some meet and greets and stuff like that. But $5,000. I love wrestling. I've loved it my whole life. I got my kids into it. I was a wrestler for a period of time. But I couldn't do it, man. I would feel too guilty thinking about all the things you could do with $5,000 that are infinitely more responsible than watch John Cena dust off his old jorts for a retirement tour in Skydome. I know that it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but I wouldn't be able to enjoy it because I'd just be like counting car payments as I'm sitting there. That said, $5,000 is actually nothing compared to what some people will pay to go to their favorite events, concerts, all that stuff. I saw someone bought box seats to the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl a couple years ago for more than $75,000. People are paying over $20,000. We talked about this in the show. Over $25,000 for floor seats to go see Taylor Swift during that Eras tour thing that was going around. And someone, I read this story, someone even paid what is $35,000 Canadian for box seats at the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton. The wedding was selling tickets to royal box seats to watch the ceremony, which is crazy. It's a crazy amount to pay to watch two strangers to you. Anyway, I mean, I would hope they know each other, whatever, but they're strangers to us, get married. Though it is worth every single penny if instead you choose to think about it with the hindsight that we have of 2025 as two people trying to bring down the monarchy from the inside. When you think about it that way, whew, that's a steal of a deal to watch the monarchy start to crumble like that.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Good morning. Today's word is calumny. Yeah, calumny. C-A-L-U-M-N-Y. Calumny. Anyways, it's misrepresentation intended to harm a person's reputation. The act of uttering false charges maliciously. That's just mean. Anyways, that just about does it. Have a great one. Cheers her up.
There you go. Thank you very much, Ed. Calumny, the making of false and defamatory statements about someone in order to damage their reputation. Basically, it's slander. Let's find out if we're saying this right, first of all.
Calumny.
Calumny. Calumny, kind of sounding like callous. Again, it's just a false and slanderous statement, especially if you are starting rumors about somebody. Like, and I'm not saying this is true, but if you were to say something like, Brock's not here because he went on a trip to get hair implants on his upper lip so that he could finally grow a full-size mustache, that would be really mean, and it would be super wrong, you guys, and you shouldn't tell people that, because that would be calumny of you to do so. And we will leave it at that. Calumny, calumny, calumny. Use it wherever you can today.
For more Brock and Dalby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Dalby podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Dalby merch store, with all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.